record on this computer. So this question is, what have been the benefits of you taking part in an empathy circle? So I'll speak to Bill.
Sure.
So what is the benefit? You know, I grew up in a family where I didn't feel like really heard, and I still don't, you know, because the different family members, the way it is. So it's this feeling of being fully heard, that when I really appreciate that I can say something, I can speak, and then, you know, that I just have the full attention. I don't have there's sort of an anxiety when I speak that I'm not going to be heard, you know, and I know with empathic listening that I'm going to be heard. I don't have to struggle for being heard, you know. So it just creates some ease for me, and it has a sort of a very fulfilling feeling of. I mean, it gives me a sort of a fulfilling feeling as well as a lot of grounding. You know, I feel really grounded from having done a lot of empathic listening.
Okay. So you grew up in a family where you did not feel heard for much of your childhood, and for various personality issues.
Yeah.
And then so you feel that when you experience the empathy listening circle, that you do feel heard. And that creates several beneficial effects. First of all, you relax rather than feel tense because you know you're going to be heard. So you don't feel you have to kind of fight your way and you know, fight for that. It's a given.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then also the feeling makes you feel grounded, and you know, just makes you gives you what I get is a much better alternative to the model that you grew up with.
Yeah.
Communication. So you feel grounded, you feel heard, and also you're giving back to somebody else. So you're making connections that are deep-seated needs of yours.
Yeah, and there's also this quality that, like, I might be struggling with some ideas that are not clear to me, especially as I get older. Everything seems less clear somehow. That it's just a place for me to kind of throw out the struggle, right? It's like, oh, I'm not sure what the heck I'm saying. I'm not clear about this. I'm just going to throw it out there. And it kind of feels okay to throw out the mess of my thinking. So, which kind of helps to sort of clarify
Mm-hmm.
my thinking. So it kind of, yeah, I don't feel quite as bad throwing out, you know, maybe some chaotic thinking.
Mm-hmm. So you feel that the structure of the empathy circle creates a lot of safety, so that you feel free to basically riff and throw out all the things that are going on with you without worrying about being judged or feeling that you know, that you're going to have to defend some.
Yeah.
And then I sense that also allows you some extra creativity that you may not feel in other situations.
Exactly. And then there's also the listening. So I like the circle that it gives me time to listen. And there's a real pleasure in the listening to people who are sharing, you know, personal stuff. Like a lot of the discussions we've been having are about, you know, about the book. We've been learning kind of a little bit more sort of technical, I guess, sort of about the process, about the listening. But, you know, having an empathy circle where people are sharing, you know, like personal fears, personal struggles, I feel like I enjoy just hearing who that person is, the richness of their experience, and their thought process, and even hearing their thought process and realizing, oh, I'm not the only one that has those feelings. So there's a sense of connection. I mean, so there's just so many different, there's just a richness of the experience. You know, it just creates a lot of richness for me to hear people and yeah, I'll
Okay. So in your first segment, you talked more about like the feeling of being heard, and now you're talking about the benefits of listening.
Mm-hmm.
And how that really enriches you, how it breaks down your own stereotypes as you kind of find out that people, have similar ideas or similar feelings, and encourages you and creates this very verdant, rich tapestry of
life. Yeah, life and experience. Uh-huh.
Okay. Life and
I just wouldn't I don't see people in the stereotype. It's just, that didn't quite kind of hit it, but everything else was right on.
Okay. So you don't see people as labels anyway, even without the process. You're not as labels, anyway. But it seems that certainly the practice of the empathy circle then, it increases the richness which you already have.
I'm looking for a metaphor, and it's like it opens the Pandora's box of richness, or it opens the treasure chest. That's another one. It's like it's opening the treasure chest of someone else's soul. I get it would be maybe a metaphorical way of saying it.
Okay, so you can see the treasures in someone else's soul.
Yeah, that's it. So I feel heard. Thanks. That was nice. Appreciate that.
Okay. Celia? Okay. So what I said is that, which is again very similar, I on the deepest level, it feels like I'm fulfilling a deep-seated human desire to understand, what did I say? To connect with others. And I've talked about my little pet theories. We're really social animals, and for various reasons, we are kind of isolated much more these days. And so when you practice the circle, then I think you're really tapping into almost like a, species-wide, real deep thing. When I go out, into the bay, into Monterey Bay, and with the whales, the animals are communicating. And if you just sit back and observe them, you can tell pretty much what they want you to do or not do.
Yeah. So besides that, you could feel the benefit for your own personal, private, you feel it has a way deeper meaning. It is really like deep-seated down in our humanity, and that we are actually social beings, and normally we're isolated, and this circle gives a possibility to come back together again, and that we communicate, which is actually ingrained in us, like in the animals. Like if you look at the whales, they communicate, they don't just ignore each other. They are together, and that's maybe something that you feel more than anybody else, that this is deeper than just superfluous listening and talking.
Yeah, the only thing I wouldn't say more than anyone else. I mean,
okay.
It's like everybody has their own unique. That's what's great about it. I might feel intense, and you might feel a little different, but when we talk about each other, somehow we enrich each other's experience. So that's what that creates.
Okay, so it was not per se that it was you as different from others, but that we just enrich each other. Yeah.
Thank you, Sia. I feel her.
Thank you. Edwin, you want to listen to me?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what I said. I can see the beginning steps up can be available for everyone. This has helped me facilitating life empathy circles, as well as getting confident in doing empathy tent. What was the question for this answer?
It's the benefits. What have been the benefits for you taking part in an empathy circle?
Yeah. The benefit is, I think, for me personally, it was really that I could expand myself with this skill. It was a different skill than what I had known already, and it was more like going to the beginning steps, and that I was hungry for, and this fulfilled that.
Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of experience with empathy and all the different trainings, and this was kind of like going back to the very basic steps again, and there was sort of a hunger for you to go back and look at basic foundation.
Right. And the basic steps in communication, in talking and listening. And because empathy, like I work with parents a lot, holding your baby and all that kind of wonderful things, that's empathy too. But this is really the language used, the word used. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're doing sort of advanced kind of work with, how do you hold a baby and how do you connect, and the empathic listening or the empathy circle is like.
Well, I work with empathy on different levels.
Oh,
but this one, an empathy circle, is really about the wording, and that you really reflect each other and give it back to them so that they can browse through it and look at them. Mm-hmm. So I like it very much. Yeah.
Yes, you like it very much because there's different levels of empathy. So you're working at all these different levels, and at this level is sort of a basic level of listening and reflecting, and you kind of appreciate that sort of foundational basic level.
Right, and it's so basic that it's easy enough for people to step in quickly. Yeah.
Mm. And the basic quality of it, makes it easy for people to start and kind of appreciate that ease.
Yes, and that's what gave me the confidence to do the empathy tent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even kind of learning this and the ease is what kind of made it just comfortable and confident to start your own empathy tent and kind of get out there publicly.
Right. Before, I would have thought, well, you have to come to my 10-week class, in order and now I can just do it in 10 minutes with you.
Yeah, before you thought if you do an empathy tent, you got to have like a 10-week complicated course. And now in like 10 minutes, you can get people ready to come to an empathy tent. Yeah, so it really...
Yeah, or do it.
Do it, to listen. Uh-huh.
Thank you. I feel.
Okay. So what was the next one? Oh, what difficulties have you had? I guess I'll speak back to Celia. Oh, let me stop this. I'm just making separate recording.